Okay, so for morning everybody, welcome to the third Think Big Millionaire Mindset webinar event. We're very blessed to have a guest speaker with us today. His name is Paul Lyons, and this session will go for, look, anything from 40 minutes to an hour, no longer than the hour. And in that time then, you can type in questions and send us questions, and we'll endeavour and do our best to answer those questions for you, so that we can inspire you and drive you and open your mind to a world beyond where you're sitting right now. And the intention at the end of the webinar is to give you something that you can take away, implement into your life, based on strategies and principles of success that have proved fruitful for others like yourself. And the intention behind the Think Big Millionaire Mindset Club is to bring your family and friends in and inspire people around you who you know and who you care for and who you feel would like to remove themselves from the current state of existence and move into something newer in their lives. When people are faced with new ideas, a new idea brings together new problems. The brain is an energy thief. If I threw you all into an ocean of cold water, your heart and your brain will steal all of the energy from all of your extremities and all of your other organs for survival. So the brain in itself is an energy thief. When we have a new idea for the brain's perspective is a new problem. A new problem means thinking. Thinking means consumption of energy. So the brain doesn't mind whether you drive a 1992 Nissan Pulsar or a 2015 Mercedes. It's irrelevant. The brain is there for absolute sheer survival. And the greatest gift that we've been given is the ability to change how we think. And in changing how we think, we can create for ourselves a completely new environment, a completely new reality. And that's the intention of today, is to bring Paul in and for Paul to articulate to you all what he done when he wanted and made a decision to step away from his ordinary life and create an extraordinary life. And the only difference in Paul and everybody else out there is that Paul had an idea. He acted on the idea, and when he acted on the idea, he knew well that everything in his current environment would try and keep him in his old state of limitations. So everything around him would say to him, Paul, don't do this. This isn't for you. That's not a good idea. This works for other people. You haven't got the brains. You haven't got the tenacity. You haven't got the smarts. And then when the brain couldn't convince you to go back to your past, what it does is it does a great trick. It starts to encourage you to tell people around you of your new idea, so that they will tell you not to do it, not to invest, not to expand your mind, not to expand your life. And people around us do that for one reason, because they care for us and they love us and they don't want to see us disappointed. So they think that by encouraging you to follow your dreams and to do the great things that you truly desire to do, that if you don't reach the milestone, well, then you're going to be disappointed. And that's why people keep us limited. They do that out of absolute sheer love. So today in my world, if I need to step up in life, I have to go to somebody who's already done it, who's already made it. So I can never step down. I can never speak to my cousin Bob about an investment opportunity, because if Bob hasn't done that exact investment opportunity, and if Bob hasn't made it in life, well, then Bob's not qualified anymore to give me advice. So I really had to learn to step away from everybody and everyone in my environment and make sure that I continued to step up one. Okay, so I'll bring Paul in, and Paul will say hello. Paul, as you can see on the PowerPoint, is an entrepreneur. He's an inventor. He's a successful business owner. He's a mentor. He's a speaker. He's a world traveler. Paul and I, in February last year, traveled up and down the Amazon River. and lived in the Amazon jungle together for about 3 or 4 days from memory. And we had just an awesome experience in traveling through Peru and South America and into the capital of Peru, Lima. We had an awesome time. Paul has also been road manager to Bob Dylan and Yothu Yindi. And the photograph doesn't show it, but he's actually very muscular. And Paul was a weightlifter and found himself one day as a gym buddy to Arnold Schwarzenegger. With Arnold shouting at him, Paul will tell you the story, to push and telling Paul that he pushes like his grandmother. So anyway, without further ado, Paul, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Ray. Thanks. I've got the makeup on now. Thanks a million.
Good lad.
How am I looking?
Well, look, Paul, I'm sorry, but just women might like it, but it just ain't my cup of tea. But I'm sure it works.
Yeah, it's great for a webinar the way I look. Thanks.
It is. So anyway, Paul, just a couple of things, if I could. I just want to start off, and when we travelled there last year, the stories that we were just sharing with each other, I became very aware that at some stage in the past you decided to take a step away from your conventional job and your normal life, and you wanted to really do something that really truly inspired you. So what was your background? Just tell us how you started out in life.
Well, I grew up in near Liverpool in the north of England, and I worked in a factory as an electrician. But I just always felt out of place, and I don't think that's unfamiliar to most people listening here. You know, I just felt that I was supposed to be somewhere else, doing something else, and be someone else. So it was that. It was the calling, you know. You don't obviously have this constant calling within you, and eventually that just gets too great. And I started bodybuilding back then, but that was an escape. It was a way of trying to express the noise with it.
Yep. Okay, and then what? You became a Sparky, is that right?
Yeah, I was a Sparky then, but like I say, I just felt out of place, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. It was just a feeling, that was all, and it wouldn't go away.
And how did you find your value? How did you find what it was that was going to inspire you? Did you just take a punt and it just fell into place, or did you have to be more clear?
No, you don't have to be clear, but it's just it's just that calling becomes so loud eventually that there's nothing you can do, and no matter how hard I tried to suppress that with my weightlifting career, it wouldn't go away. And it's almost out of sheer desperation that you take some crazy leap of faith, which is what I did. And I packed up everything, left my job, left home, and got on a flight to North America. I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do, but I just couldn't take it anymore, and I just knew I was looking for something else, but I didn't know what it was.
Got it. But you were clear that you were looking for something else.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no question about it. So it's part of the journey of that inner search, I suppose.
So in being clear that you were looking for something else, the difference there is, right, so what we need to find here, Paul, is the variance between you and your success. So your company at the moment has just been valued. You've gone from being an electrician, right? You've done some things. You stepped outside the square a little bit. You had a bit of a good time on the road with some bands and so on. But there was always a greater calling there. You always seemed to have that entrepreneurial flair. So the difference that we're trying to find today is, what was the first thing that inspired you? What was the first thing that inspired you to recognize that there was a flame within you? So really, as I see it, was this. Most people become pretentious, Paul. They know they've an inner desire. They know they've an inner drive. They absolutely know that they're absolute divine creators. But as we start to grow up and get towards the age of 35, what we do is we try and kind of suppress that inner voice, because that inner voice telling us, listen, you can be greater, you can be sensational, you can be entrepreneurial, you can. That voice resonates so much with us that at some stage we have to shut it down, because the pain of disappointment is difficult. So what we do is, rather than recognizing and acting, so thinking, doing, and being, rather than doing that, we become pretentious. In becoming pretentious, we build things around us. We put a prison wall around us, and when we do, the pretensionism has us buying things. So really what you done was, you knew the desire was in there, and then you acted on that, and you moved to the next stage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so are you asking me a question there?
No, but I'm just saying that, look, was that moment that just something changed for you?
What was the moment?
Yeah.
It was a couple of things, really. To be honest, well, when I got up and left, that leap of faith taught me that I could do it, and that was and that's a stepping stone, if you like, on the way to that, and it builds your confidence over a period of time. And of course, I became very good at asking questions then, and seeking out advice and information, and that inner desire, I suppose, keeps building and building. And so some of those great experiences I had were obviously as a direct result of me taking that first leap of faith, as terrifying as it was. And as much resistance as I met, I distinctly remember the guys my electrical colleagues, if you like, all absolutely in a state of shock. Couldn't understand why I was going, what I was going to do, what I was going to do when I got there. And I couldn't explain it either. And I've since learned that I don't have to explain it. I don't need the reason, but it's following that instinct and having been brave enough to do it, and take that leap of faith. And once you do it once, you know you can keep doing it, and it just builds from there.
Sure. So, how's your business going?
Well, no, it's really good. Like you say, it's just been valued around 30 million, and we expect to float it on the stock exchange in about 3 years' time, and we expect a valuation of about 100 million for it, which all sounds, very very nice, but really it's just numbers, and it's all a waste of time unless you're leading some purposeful life. And as I tell all my team, I ask them to ask themselves every day, how can you be of the greatest possible service? So that's the most key element to what we do. Yeah. And the entire team know that that's what counts and nothing else.
Very good. So you'll be able to buy a nose hair plucker and get some Botox.
That's right, yeah. I've got a little dimple on the chin. I just noticed in that picture. I might get that made a bit more prominent.
Right. And you'll be able to get some voice lessons, because I feel like I'm talking to Ringo Starr.
Well, I've been accused of John Lennon before, but let's go with Ringo Starr.
Ringo Starr, okay. Hey, so listen, when I was doing some things in my life when I was younger, and I was trying to get to a different place in stepping up, the people that instilled most fear into me were the people that were closest to me. So, yeah. I've memories of my friends when I was getting into property and real estate in my younger years, and being entrepreneurial and setting up a business at 21 years of age. You could feel the snigger from your friends. They wouldn't say to you, "Don't do it," because they were 21. They'd no idea what was going on in life, or our frontal lobes haven't even fully developed at that stage as males. I remember having an opportunity to buy. I'd bought my first house, and it was 24,000. I came across a Jewish guy by the name of Julius Lipschitz from Birmingham, and he was his family had owned a lot of properties in Dublin, especially in the inner city. and he'd offered to sell me 9 properties for £50,000 at the time, and I bought one for 24. And I looked for advice from people around me, and when I did look for that advice, it was my family that warned me, you shouldn't do this. So I made the decision and made the mistake of not listening to my inner heart and my voice, and listening to other people's advice. And when I did, I found myself becoming them. Did you find that anybody, not intentionally, but tried to steal your dream away and get you to live in your current state of limitations?
Yeah, absolutely, and that was everyone, and that was what made it so fearful. So eventually, your inner voice has to become louder than the white noise that you're hearing outside, and that's what makes it such a terrifying thing. Because at first, you have no real support. But I refer to it as taking your references from within, because if you take your references from without, then you're already dead in the water. If you read magazines, listen to I never read magazines, never read newspaper, never listen to the news, and I will listen to people, but I won't necessarily take their word. I have a lot of mentors. I've probably got about 6 or 7 mentors who inspire me. But and you should find people that inspire you, but it's only to lead you to your own inner inspiration, not to give you advice. Whereas most other people around you are trying to. Certainly back when I first left Liverpool were trying to give me their perspective. And of course, that was just not working for me.
That's a really, really good piece of advice, Paul, what you just said there. That people around you who mentor you, in other words, they've done it. They understand the consequences of advising people. And when we advise people, what we're doing is, the minute we offer advice, is all we're doing is we're just reflecting our own fears straight away. And your mentors, who are people who have really done some awesome things in their lives, are people who understand that. And you said, look, their job really is to drive you towards your inner inspiration.
Yeah,
absolutely sensational. That's completely right. So really, then, if I was to say to you, how did you resolve within yourself what you should do when other people warn us and they pass their fears on to us, is that you got to be able to sit and listen with a logical mind. And in sitting and listening with a logical mind, you have to be prepared for people reflecting their fears and then you absorbing yourself and immersing yourself in them. Because
yes.
Don't we find it so easy to fall for the illusion of somebody else's story? Don't we find it so easy when we look to somebody for advice? The moment we ask somebody for advice on an area of life, what we're doing is we're putting them kind of a little bit hard on us for a moment, and then therefore what we're doing is we're putting a badge on them, and the badge says, listen, what's your advice? Because your advice is important to me. So then they give us the advice. It's not really the advice that we wanted. We were really looking for encouragement. Because we subconsciously and subvocally put that badge on them, all of a sudden we subconsciously start to take on their advice. So I've got clients who come to us for financial advice. And when they do, the first thing I have to say to them is that you've got to be serious about what advice you want and who you're going to take it from and what you're going to do with it. And you have to find somebody who's already done it and already made it. The biggest problem with people, mentors and people that give advice, is that if they don't understand human mindset, they can really just only give a logical answer, but they can't give a scientific explanation of what they should do with that information. So most coaches and mentors today, they don't really know the consequence of any advice that they give. And all they do is that most times they certainly speak from their heart, and not their head. Can you tell us who your mentors are, Paul? Like just what industries are they in? You know, how did you find them?
Um, I won't name them, but
No,
they
no, don't, you
you
know,
wouldn't
for
want
sure.
to
But
name
just
them. But
what
the one,
industries, how did you come across them, and how do you stay in contact with them? How do you inspire them to inspire you?
the thing is, when you do have when you have, I hate to say the word made it as such, you know,
Yeah,
or you've had a lot of life experience. Uh, One of the problems with that is you tend not to feel the need to tell everyone about it. But if you go to someone with wisdom, show a bit of humility and say, hey, can you help me understand this? And that is one of my favorite sayings. I go up to people that I even my own people that work for me and people that are much smarter than I am. I will often use the phrase, can you help me understand that? And what that phrase, I find that a very powerful phrase because it has a number of elements to it. When you ask somebody for help, they feel that you know, everyone wants to help. There's this sudden kind of human instinct to want to help, and it also puts them in a position of having, if you want to say, more power. They have the information that you want to impart. So that's and when people are put in that position, they willingly give their information. And it's a very strong thing to do, and I do it all the time. You know, I can think several times a week when I do it. If there's something I just don't know the answer to, I'll find people that do, and I'll use that term. And so once you've done it once with somebody and acknowledge that they know more than you, it's remarkable what happens. And all of a sudden they have an affinity to you, and that becomes then a relationship that is forged, and you can continue to capitalize on with that person. So while it's a bit scary at first doing it with someone that is considered successful or high net worth and unapproachable, you will be amazed what happens when you go and ask them for help.
sure.
Always, I've never once been turned away when you approach them in the right way and ask them, because A, they don't need to tell people anymore because they don't, you know, need to impress anyone. But no one ever asks them. It's as simple as that, and they have information that they would love to give.
Yeah. I had a client that I was coaching in Melbourne and Clark, and he had an awesome idea. And his idea was, and if you look at the slide there, it says at the end, as opposed to living the way others expect. And there is an expectation on us, and there was an expectation on you, Paul, when you were trying to do something awesome and sensational in your life. There was an expectation on you to live a life the way other people expected you to live. It might be your parents, or you know, your partner, or your closest friends, or your family, or you know, your esteemed work colleagues. You know, whatever it might be. And what we do is we try and live our lives to please people around us, because when we don't please them, they get upset. If we don't take their advice, they get upset. And mentoring. So I'd say to everybody listening, is that get yourself a mentor. And I promote that as much as I possibly can. We do a lot of coaching with people, and in coaching with people, it's just to give them information, and to give them direction in trying to follow, in following through with their dream. So Clark had come along to me, Paul, and he had a great idea. He found this guy in New York. He was a 23-year-old dude in New York, and Clark was looking for a business idea for himself in Melbourne. He's only a young guy. He sells solar panels. He found this guy in New York who was turning over $1 million a month selling coffee cups. What he was doing was he was going to all the coffee shops in New York City who had to pay 8 cents for a coffee cup. And he said to them, listen, I'll sign you for 2 years and I'll give you all your coffee cups for free. So the coffee shop owner said, well, I'll sign up for 2 years. I'm in. If I'm going to get my cups for free, I'll get them for free. So then he went to the likes of, in New York City, the local JB Hi-Fi, the local Bunnings, the local Good Guys, and said, listen, every time somebody buys a cup of coffee, they hold it in their hand for 6.8 minutes. I'm going to put your name on 10,000 coffee cups for a day, once a month, and you're going to pay me 20 cents per cup. So he had to supply the cup for 8 cents and then do the artwork and so on. So Clark came to me and said, Ray, I'm going to follow through with this idea. So I said, great, here's your plan, here's the plan. There's a business plan, go get it going. So about 2 months later, he came back and he'd gone into business with a couple of guys, but he made a mistake in the way he set his business up. But anyway, he went out single-handedly and signed up 500,000 coffee cups in Melbourne City. I kid you not, 500,000. So he said, Ray, I'm after doing this in the business now. I've made this mistake. It was in his creativity and his setup of his business. So I said, okay, so what are you going to do about it? You've made a mistake now, and now you're going to find it difficult to get out of that. I said, you need a mentor. He said, well, I mean, you're coaching me. I said, but I'm not your mentor. I'm a coach. I'm not a mentor. You need to find a mentor. So I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to locate the guy in New York City. You're going to communicate with him. You're going to go and fly to him and meet him. You're going to tell him that you stole his idea. You've taken it to Australia, but you're going to pay him a royalty for every coffee cup that you sell from here on in for the rest of your life. But he has to mentor you in your business. And off Clark went and, followed exactly through with that. So he found himself a mentor. And we have to be master askers. We can't live in fear in our lives, in fear of asking questions. Because a question leads to an idea, leads to a plan, leads to an outcome. It's very, very important. So what we need to do is we all need to learn to change our mind and to change the way we think. There's a post that I put up just recently, and it just goes along the lines of how the body, which was the servant to the mind, became the master because the body gets addicted to its familiarized feelings. And those addictions then, when we try to do something new in our life, it creates for another chemical being manufactured by the, under the instruction of the hypothalamus in the back of our brain. So all of a sudden, the body isn't getting the usual chemical of regret, the usual chemical of lacking, the usual chemical of sadness, the usual chemical of failure, the usual chemical of jealousy, because we're trying to do something greater. The usual chemical of pretensionism, saying to people, look what I have. I just got a new car. I just got a new job. My life looks good. Look at the picture I'm painting. And you touched on that earlier, Paul. You said, look, you just can't tell people when you're successful. And you're right. Successful people will never say I'm successful. So what happens is that when we try to go into that, create a different world for ourselves and go somewhere new, the body will scream to the brain. And it will say, what are you doing? Where's the jealousy, the anger, the guilt, the shame, the neglect, the regret? All those negative things that were keeping me in my past set of limitations. I need you to go back and start creating that chemical again. And next of all, 3 weeks later, after we had this a new idea, we find ourselves sitting on the couch, flicking a remote control, eating a tub of ice cream, wondering, what the hell happened? Where did the idea go? So the point about it is that there's a scientific explanation as to why you don't follow through with your dreams. Your body has become the master, and your mind is now the servant to the master. Yeah. Did you find, Paul, that when you were following your dreams, that there was really scary moments?
Yes, definitely, all the time. I mean, if you don't have them, you're probably dead. But I often think of that great story by Leo Tolstoy. I don't know if you know it. It's about the old man. He's on his deathbed and his wife is next to him. And he hates his wife. He's been married to most of his life, but he hated her. And his dying words were, what if I lived the wrong life? That was his dying words, and I found that very, very powerful when I heard that story, and that is enough of an impetus to not want to live the wrong life for me.
So he said his words were, what if I lived the wrong life?
What if I lived the wrong life?
Yeah.
just before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. So that because he hated it, he clearly did, of course, you know. Of course, I don't want to live that wrong life. So that is enough of a driver for me to keep looking, keep finding inspiration, keep asking questions, and keep paying attention to those that calling. The music that's within all of us is always there, and stop taking references from without yourself, take them from within, because there are only two feelings, and they're either good or they're bad. And if they're bad when you're hearing someone talk to you, then it's the wrong direction. If it's good, you're on the right direction.
So give us in one of the posts that we put up on Facebook. So if you for those of you who want to see the post that we put up on Facebook, it's called Ray Behan Think Big, and you just click in there and you click like, and you get those posts. And one of the posts from last year said that most people die living the regret of the things that they didn't do, which is exactly what Leo Tolstoy was saying. He was saying, I'm dying in regret of the life that I truly felt was within me, but I just felt that I was incapable of pursuing. And he probably understood at that moment in time, Paul, that it wasn't down to the fact that he was incapable. It was that, you know, in our world, by the way, far removed from Tolstoy's world, in our world today, ignorance is a choice. You cannot say I didn't make it because I didn't know, because the whole world of information is at our fingertips. And not only that, when you come along, Paul, and you say to people, listen, get a mentor, you're putting people on notice. You're saying to them, listen, if you don't make it in life, you just didn't follow the instruction. You know, I told you exactly how to do it. I told you, you came on here this morning for inspiration. And I've just given you, this is you, Paul, you know, I've just given you the inspiration everybody, Paul has. And the inspiration is find yourself a mentor. So with your mentor, then that means that your dream is going to start to come into your dominant daily life. It's going to be in front of you. You're going to feel as though that dream that you forgot from 3 or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago is now dominant in your life. It's dominant in your thought patterns. And when you do, you are going to, like Paul said, you're literally going to shit yourself as you start to take on new ideas and try to do new things in your life. And the moment that you do, and you find that, oops, I'm just about to step into the shower tonight, but guess what? I pooed my pants during the daytime because I'm scared. Well, you want to go to this bed every night with poo in your pants, because you really, really do need to be scared of the things that you're doing, because now you know that your mind is in the future, because now you're seeing a new future, but your body is living in the past, because your body is trying to scare you back into your past again. So the body will literally, you know, create this huge internal fear inside of you to get you to go back to your past again. So our job is to cross over that river of change and to acknowledge our ideas of greatness, acknowledge our dreams and our goals, which hence is putting our mind into the future. But your body, as we already said, will stay in the past, but just keep going, because eventually your body will catch up with your mind. And then you'll have a new idea. So, Paul, your company's worth 30 million. Going to be launched on the stock market in the next 36 months. Valued at anticipated 100 million. Just give us an idea. What do you do?
Well, I work in the energy space. So energy efficiency, sustainability, etc. So I have a greater idea, if you like. One that always inspired me was I read a book once by Malcolm McConaughey. He wrote Cradle to Cradle is his book. It'll come to me in a minute, but he said, what if our buildings were like trees and our cities like forests? And what he meant by that was, when you think about what a tree does, it captures carbon, it fixes nitrogen, it produces oxygen, it distills water, it's a habitat for hundreds of occupants, it changes with the seasons, it gets its energy from the sun. all of these kind of things. This idea inspired me many years ago, and because of my technical background, I mean, I do have even though I started off as an electrician, I did become quite technical, and I also went on to become a senior technician for most of the Formula One racing teams. So I learned quite a lot of technical stuff, and when I heard this, I thought, you know what, we can do that. We can actually do that technically, so why aren't we doing it? So it's that kind of greater idea that is something that is of greater service than yourself. And I believe that as well as every human being on this planet should learn how to become the greatest example of themselves, the overarching MO should be to ask themselves, how can we be of greater service? And you need a big idea to do something like that. And it's that idea we're scared of. But when I heard that and I realized that we could do that, it was that started to inspire me. And when you have that kind of idea in your mind, I started to change my language. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying when I have enough money, or when I to do this, or when I meet the right people, what happened with that kind of language is it puts it in a time frame, which means that you're not there now, but when that happens, you will be. So you instantly set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, because you're saying to yourself that you're not there now. Whereas if you change your language, and I started to change the language I used, I said to myself, how can I do that? And I'd ask that question of myself in one form or other every single day. And this is how you also overcome the addiction of the old self, if you like. So when you start asking that questions, the answers start coming to you, and you realize that they are coming. And I was going to do a poll in this this webinar and ask people, how many people wake up in the middle of the night? I do, and I call them 3 a.m. thoughts. And I wake up about the same time. It's about 3:15 every night, and that's where my thoughts come to mind. That's when I'm the closest to God, and I'm closest to my greater self. And that's when some of the answers come to me. And they come to you because you've asked yourself a question each and every day. And I do that all the time. I never ask when I get this, or I never say that to myself, because I don't want to set myself up for failure. I ask myself how. How can I do that? And the answers will always come. They'll come in people, they'll come in those 3 a.m. thoughts, or they'll just keep exposing themselves to you everywhere. But most of the time, we're so addicted to our old way of being, we don't listen. So I call it reframing. You have to somehow try to reframe things. And I also talk about what I learned was back as a bodybuilder, in fact, and I've got more stories around this, but I learned, people used to say to me, you must have a lot of discipline to do that kind of stuff. And I used to think, yeah, I guess I do. But in hindsight, I don't. I'm a lazy bugger.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between discipline and desire. And I realized that I wasn't disciplined. I wanted it. It's a desire. When I wanted to lift weights all the time, it was a desire. I wasn't forcing myself. Discipline has this connotation of forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. So if you reframe things and find desire, you find the inspiration to want to do something different, then you've got to keep using that, and you've got to keep asking different questions. So on a daily basis, I have routines, I have techniques, and I make sure that I do them every single day. Like I do yoga every morning and every night, and I ask myself questions. I read what I call gratitude statements, and I infuse my life with these kind of things, and I stop taking references from outside of myself, and I've learned that the greatest answers are always, always, always within you. There is no question about that. You just have to find a different way of seeking out those answers, because they are never outside.
Sure. So you're saying there's an inner voice within you. There's an inner, just for the sake of simplicity for the conversation today, kind of entity within you that knows you so well, that has no limitations, that has no fear, and that has all the answers to all of the questions. And what we got to do is that we just got to step away from the egoic self, the self within us that judges us. The self within us that judges other people and other things. And we have to kind of, what you're saying, Paul, is step into the zone of create absolute pure consciousness. So at 3 a.m. in the morning, Paul, you see, what you're saying is absolutely 100% right. And at 3 a.m. in the morning, by the way, your mind is removed from the three influences in our environment, your body, time, and the environment. So there is no body. The part of the brain associated with movement of the body has been shut down. The part of the brain that associates our identity, so the egoic self, the one damaging part of us, has been shut down because you've no time to focus on who you are because you just woke up with a thought. And the part of our brain that processes time has been shut down as well. And that's the frontal lobe in action. The frontal lobe is kind of the mediator, the executive, that mediates the entire geography and has access to all the geography of the brain. And for us to be in pure consciousness, in other words, pure creativity, whereby there's no judgment, there's only direction, is that the frontal lobe attempts to shut the volume down in those different areas of the brain so that we can get into that space. And when we are, and we have removed that ego, and we're not listening to other people's advice because other people's advice is their ego, well then it's a different, now we're on a path to success. And that success can be in any area of our life and can be anything. So when you were saying things like, look, I had to change my language, in actual fact what you were doing was you were changing your feeling. So by changing your feeling, now your feeling and your thinking are equal and aligned to each other. So the body was no longer the master in control of the mind because the body had succumbed to the language, and the language gave it a feeling. So if I tell you a really funny story, which is language, you'll laugh and your body will feel equal to your thinking. If I tell you a really sad story, it's sad language, your body will feel sad and you'll be thinking sad. And then the thinking and feeling is aligned as well. So you said, look, I'm not disciplined, but I had the desire. But really the desire is also a feeling. So in actual fact, over that period of time, you just made sure that your thinking and a feeling were aligned with each other.
Yeah. So can I tell you another story just to back up that idea of time-based stuff, and what made me change my my language somewhat. As you mentioned before, I used to, I was the tour manager for Yothu Yindi and the Aboriginal band, and I'm still to this day the longest serving tour manager, and that's because, I was with them for 2 years, but that was because most people, most of the tour manager, the guy I replaced was Bruce Springsteen's tour manager, and who came over to look after Yothu Yindi. But he lasted 2 weeks, and he left saying, this band is unmanageable. And the reason was they couldn't stick to any time frames, and all tours run on time. You got to get to the airport, you got to go and be in the lobby of the hotel, get on stage at this time. You just can't do it. And so when I started working for them for the first couple of weeks, I was finding this exact same problem. And at the time, of the year, and he and I went to Canberra on some event, so I got to sit next to him on a plane, and this was in the first 2 weeks, and I said to Manda, we used to call him Manda, I said, look, Manda, we are, I'm having a lot of problems here, trying to, people are not turning up, and I can't get them out of the down to the lobby, and everything's falling apart here. And I said, for instance, tomorrow I've got to get everyone in the lobby at 10 o'clock so we can get to the airport. And he said to me, and it hit me really, really hard. He said, what you don't understand, Paul, is that there is no word in the Aboriginal language for tomorrow. Now that really, it hit me like a ton of bricks. So I suddenly realized that they don't base their existence on time. And from that point on, not only was I able to remanage the tour with a lot of different, what I'll say, backup plans, because I couldn't force them into our way of thinking. We had to try and readapt the tour. And after he told me that, I realized that there's ways around it, and I just found some other ways. But it also made me realize, being the oldest race on the planet, I think they must have done something right. So it was things like that helped me understand the kind of language I was using. Things like when this happens, and it immediately puts you into that time-based thing. But when you change your language, so it's things like events like that that have been able to help me reframe, shift my thinking, and obviously change the language to be something of more service, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay, that's Manu there in the photograph. He was the lead singer with Yothu Yindi. Is that correct?
Mandawai, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now there's some questions coming through. So what we'll do is I'll deal with those questions in just a moment, Paul. I'll just read them out to you. There's a couple of statistics that I just wanted to just quickly run through, and these are from a success perspective. And if you notice, the techniques that Paul uses in his life, they can really be in any area of your life. You just got to use the same technique, and you can really advance any area of your life. One piece of advice I just want to give everybody today, if I could, from a financial perspective, is this. Watch this for a moment. To be qualified to offer financial advice in Australia, you need a degree in finance. Now, I'm talking about being a planner of money. I'm not talking about being an advisor of money. In Australia today, there are 226,000 financial advisors, and they're mostly unregulated, unlicensed, and they can there's not a lot of criteria and qualifications required to be a financial advisor. One qualification that you have to be a financial advisor is that you've got to be a really, 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 really nice guy. Because every financial advisor is a really, 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 really nice guy. And they actually sound like they know what they're talking about. They really are very convincing. It's quite uncanny. And that's me being completely disingenuous to them, because finances are so important. So to be licensed and regulated, and finance is the most regulated industry in Australia, you've got to have a degree in finance. You have to have a high proficiency in English and mathematics, and you've got to have 5 years experience to get that license to get out there and financially advise people. And that means that just advise them from the perspective of how to manage their money so well that they use their money to make money. So therefore, we need to ask ourselves, if we don't have that qualification, 5 years experience in finance, a degree in finance, a high proficiency in mathematics and English, why did you decide to take on that gig yourself and expect to get it right? It's like going to Bunnings to have an ingrown toenail removed. It's completely removed from what you should be doing. You shouldn't have gone to Bunnings. You should have gone to the experts. So, we do that. We live in a world of DIY, and we become consumed by DUI. We become drunk under the influence of our own stories that tell us that it's okay. It'll be all right in the future. Something will happen. A magic wand will be waved, and your life will be, your life will just fall. Your canvas will just lay out in front of you, and everything will be good, and you'll live an awesome life just like your parents. So the decision and the determination on how your life is going to pan out in the future all revolves around you and what you do. And what you do with information, like the information that you get today. How are you going to take that information away from this 1 hour session today and implement it into your life to have an awesome experience? And 95% of Australians fail to do that. Only 4% are ever become financially free, and 1% become wealthy. So we have to look at what it is, what's the common denominator amongst all of those 95% of people that didn't progress in life. And it's one, they didn't have a mentor. Two, they didn't change their feeling. Three, they gave up on their thinking. Four, they didn't have a plan. Five, they listened to other people's information and they lived their lives. And six, they just didn't give it. Ideas fail because people give up too soon. People give up too quickly. Do you think anybody in life can be successful, Paul?
Absolutely. There is no question about that whatsoever. We all have exactly the same faculties. We are all instruments of creation, and like I said before, your job is to become the greatest example of yourself. And a story that what you just have to do, what people don't do, is learn how to use their the mind. As you know, the content of your mind will determine the outcome of your reality. We all have a mind, so anyone can learn to use it. And I'll tell you that story about Arnold, the brief story that you mentioned. When I was training in California, I was in the British Championships at the time, and I decided to go and live in California and train over there with obviously the best in the world. Arnold wasn't competing back then, but I think he was training for Terminator or something like that. But he used to come into the gym, and he came in.
Did he come back?
Hey, I can't do the Arnold accent. Or he'd be back. Yeah, something like that. I was dying to hear him say that. But he came into the gym. I mean, it's a long story, but I'll cut it short. But effectively, we were working out doing bench press at the time, I think it was. And I thought, having seen it before, I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask him a question. I'm not sure what I'm going to ask him. But anyway, between sets, I said to him, listen, Arnold, I want to ask you this question. I said, if you had any advice to give someone that wants to do something with their life, what would you say? And what he said to me was just 4 words. He said, just use your head. That was all he said. And he said, now get back on the bench and start lifting and stop talking. So I thought he was being flippant and just brushing me off. But a year later, I read an interview with him, and the interviewer asked him almost the same question, and he said the same answer. He said, you just have to learn how to use your head. And he said the same. He said, you have to realize that the content of your mind will determine the outcome of your reality. And just because you have a mind doesn't mean that you know how to use it. If I pick up a guitar, for instance, because I have one doesn't mean I can play it. You have to learn how to train it. And he was a master at using his mind. He knew exactly how to do it. And that was another thing that led me to realize that you can change the way you think. And it's things like that. And that too was a big impact on me.
Okay, so when you and I were having a bath last night, I said to you, what's one piece of advice you'd give to people? What's one piece of advice you'd give to people? So we've got 7 minutes left, and I just want to answer some people's questions, Paul. So just straight to the point, one piece of advice.
I'll use Joseph Campbell. He always said, follow your bliss. That was what, that would be that's a great piece of advice. Follow your bliss.
Great. You've already answered the question. 3 steps that you would take, to encourage a person. And the first step, that's the bottom step there, is to think. You just got to come up with the idea. The second step is to act. So in acting then, you got to convince your body that you're not going to listen to it anymore. And you're going to break through that barrier that your body has put up for you. So then after that, when you've broke that act and you've acted according to your thinking, you will become what it is that you truly desire. And the thing about Paul is, Paul is an absolutely complementary opposite to me. I'm a Sparky as well, an electrician, but I failed school. I failed everything in school. My dad was an engineer, and my dad awarded contracts in the largest print works in Europe. and he blackmailed an electrical contract firm one day, and blackmailed them and said, "Listen, I'll award you a contract, but you have to give my stupid son a job, an apprenticeship." And I got an apprenticeship. I went to college and I failed that as well. I had a head injury when I was 7, and it took me 10 years to get out of it, to recover. So it was about 17, 18, 19 when I kind of started to just come out of that. And so I couldn't learn. I just couldn't. Nothing stayed. So the point about it is that people like Paul and I, we just came from an ordinary background, but we stopped listening to everything and everybody in our environment. We just said to everybody and everything, "Stop. I've had enough of you now. I'm doing what is in my heart. I'm following my dream and goal. I will not be a 9-to-5er. I will not work for the man. I will be the man, and I will become it, because the man is just like me. The man had the idea, and the man stepped up." That's the difference in the person that you're working for and you, is that he just took the 3 steps. One day, he just acted, and he became. So I just want to go through a couple of questions, if I could, Paul. Lynn, you asked, look, what if you're not sure what to ask? And I think Paul already asked that. And here's the deal to being a master asker is this. To be a master asker, you just got to ask a question. And you may well get shot down first time round. And you know what? You just pick yourself up and you dust yourself off and you go do it again. So you find yourself an awesome mentor. And, if you know somebody who knows somebody in business and you want to be mentored by them, you just follow Paul's instructions. And Paul gave you the wording of that. What was that again, Paul? Could you explain how this works? Is that what the question was?
Explain the...
when you were asking your mentors, what was that one question that you asked your mentors to inspire them to...
Yeah. Can you help me understand?
Can you help me understand? Yeah, sure. Do you know that what I find about mentors, Paul, is that when you really kind of reflect on their greatness and their success and the things that they've done in their life, they just want to share their story. They just want to tell you, how they done it. That's all they want to do. They really want to get out there and make that happen. Let me just go to the next question, Paul, before that ends. What's the key questions that you ask people to help you define and move towards your calling?
No, it's the same question, really, isn't it? Because it's like doing a Google search, right? You kind of got an idea of what you're thinking, and you try a few questions, and eventually you start getting clearer at it, at what exactly it is you're looking for. And like I said before, follow your bliss, and eventually it'll just start to, you've got that inner guidance system. You've got your own compass.
Was it extremely painful and challenging?
What, asking those questions?
No, just your whole journey to success.
Yeah, it all felt like failure. Yep. It all feels like failure all the way through.
Yeah, it is. It's the body playing tricks, isn't it? Saying that you're going to fail here. It's just, and you just got to keep crossing that river of change.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. I think I've covered most of the questions in there as we were going through. And I just want to remind you all that, everybody who is successful, they feel that there's a greater mind giving life to their goals. And you just got to get in touch with that greater mind. You got to tell yourself that you're no longer going to blame, you're no longer going to feel depressed, you're no longer going to feel rejected, you're no longer going to be jealous and so on. But what happens is, remember, when the body sees the change, it signals the brain to go back to what it calls, to what you perceive as being normal. So we just listen to the voice inside of us and act on it as though it was true. That's what we do. We listen to that voice inside of us and we act on that voice as though the voice is real, as though the voice knows greater than that truer person that we've locked ourselves away from within us, that knows us so well and has all the answers to all of the problems. We got to get back in touch with him again or her again. That's the voice in our mind that we need to open that door to. And you need to literally see yourself opening that door to a greater mind and closing the door on the person inside of you that tells you that your current existence is normal. All right, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It was just awesome having you on. And everybody, thanks for your time this morning, and we really, really, really hope you got a lot out of it. And remember, everything that you think you can do, you can do. Everything that you think that you can't do, well then equally, you can't do it. And no matter where you are in your life right now, you can have an awesome, awesome, awesome outcome and an awesome future. I've seen housewives, I've seen bank managers, I've seen unemployed people, I've seen sick people completely and utterly stop listening to their inner voice of limitations and listen to their inner voice of inspiration and get somewhere awesome in their life. So go become exactly what it is that inner voice is telling you. Have a great day, everybody.
Cheers, Ray.
Cheers, Paul.